So I've been investigating the paranormal, cryptids, Bigfoot, some of it going into my third decade now. Over the years, as you might imagine, I've had some really creepy encounters, instances in the woods, in houses, whatever. Today, what I thought I would share with you is some of the more creepy experiences that I've had in the Ouachita Mountains. And that's a really big hotspot, and I thought I would go over some of the things that are really interesting to me. From EVPs to, I have a really interesting story that I caught on audio where we actually ended up leaving the woods that night. My tent was pushed down. You heard part of that in the initial intro. And then lastly, I have a photo that I'd like you guys to take a look at of something that I captured from inside my camper shell one night. And hopefully at the end of the video, you'll stick around, maybe subscribe, and we'll see where we go from here. Welcome to Undiscovered Origins. I'm Mike. Today I thought I'd share with you some interesting experiences we got while in the Ouachita Mountains. And my first one that I'm going to share with you is an EVP that we got. Now, EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, I don't normally relate Bigfoot and ghost stuff and things like that together. However, that's not to say that while we're out Bigfoot hunting that some creepy paranormal stuff doesn't happen. Starting out, I'm going to play for you an EVP that we got. My wife and I had gotten to a campsite. We got there late, probably right before dark. We set up, we ate real quick. We got the tent set up. As I got through getting everything ready, I took out my phone and was going to make some social media content. So I was scanning and kind of doing some dry runs. And as soon as we get there, I turn on an audio recorder wherever we go. And now I had my phone going. So we actually captured this on both pieces of audio. The first video I'm going to show you, it's a little grainy because I'm on night vision and it's going to probably be zoomed in a little for YouTube. But as I'm panning, I didn't know it till later on, but we captured an EVP. Going back and listening to it once we got home, it was a little unsettling, not to mention the events that happened throughout the rest of the night that I'm going to get to in a second. But right now I'm going to play for you the EVP. Tell me what you think, and we'll come back and discuss it here in just a minute.
Just got through making dinner. It's about 10 o'clock. Got through making dinner. Setting my camera. About 10 o'clock. Got through making dinner.
What did you think about that? Now, I'm going to play it for you again in a minute, but I'm going to give you a little bit of the story. Back during the pandemic, I talked my wife into going. We couldn't go anywhere else really in towns and things like that. She's not really that much of an outdoor person, but I talked her into going on a camping trip right in the middle of the pandemic. So we got out in the middle of nowhere by ourselves, and yet it's not really her thing, but I wanted to go scout out a spot while we were headed over into East Oklahoma. And when we got there, we got set up. It was really late, so I didn't have a chance to really scope out the area, anything like that. As soon as we got there, we captured that EVP. Now, we came back after all this had happened and I started listening to audio, and that popped up right away. This is like the first video clip that I turned on other than my audio recorder. So I'm going to play for you again the EVP that we thought we got.
Just got through making dinner. It's about 10 o'clock. Got through making dinner.
Again, we didn't notice that any of that happened, but we got set up. Everything's kind of quiet. But from the time we got there, the place had just a really heavy feeling. Like, it just seemed weird. Now, you got to keep in mind, I've camped hundreds and hundreds of nights all over the world. It's not abnormal to be a little weirded out, especially when you get there so close to dark and you don't have a chance to look. But as soon as we got there, it just had this really heavy feeling. And for those of you that have been in the field a lot, you'll know what I mean. Matter of fact, later on down the timeline here, two of my sons went and they camped in the same location, and they had almost a very similar experience, and they stated the same thing, that it was just this really heavy feeling. Immediately upon getting through, quit making noise, and we're sitting there, we started hearing what sounded like voices off out in the distance. My one son said it best. It sounds like somebody speaking a foreign language. You know that it's speaking a language, but you can't make out what they're saying, but you can hear it. And this sounded almost female. I don't know. I first thought that it was probably some hikers or something like that were down the mountain, down in the valley. I thought, well, it's got to be what that is. So as we keep rolling along, we'd been a long day. We got up really early that morning. We'd done some touristy things throughout the day. So we get into camp, we got all this done. Still don't know that we've gotten that EVP, but we're getting ready to go to bed. I mean, as soon as my head hit my cot, I hear, it sounds like something walking around us. And I got all of this on audio. Some of it you can't make out. We did have a storm that was starting to come in, and my first thought is maybe it's the wind blowing and we're just picking up some limbs falling, some things crunching. Same thing with the voices. I have some of it on audio, but if I played it for you here on YouTube, I don't think you could hear it. And you might put in some headphones. I may put it in at the end so you can hear it if you have headphones that you want to try to zoom in on that a little bit. As soon as we kind of fall asleep, I keep hearing these noises, keeps waking me up, and I get up several times throughout the night. I actually get out and go sit, and I'm looking around. I keep hearing this crunching. When I'd get up, things would quit happening. Finally, about 12:30, I'm sitting in the tent, and the noise now is unmistakable. I can hear, it sounds like something walking around camp. Again, that's not abnormal. We're in the woods. We're in the middle of nowhere in the woods too. You got to keep in mind, and I'll show you some images here. When we go camping, we go off trail. So, I mean, I'm talking places you have to have really capable four-wheel drives. This isn't somewhere that you're going to get your mom's minivan in at the state park. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to get really off trail, really into the woods deep. To kind of back up a minute, I had found this location as I was scouting out some areas, and I really wanted to go there and check it out so that I could go back for a future actual full-on investigation. I get out of my tent several times. I'm listening as I lay back down, and I'm hearing unmistakable crunching. It sounds like somebody's literally walking around in camp. And I kept hearing this noise, and I couldn't make out what it was. But later on, I know what it is because I went back and I replicated it. But what I think it was at this point in time is I think whatever it was messing with. I'll put up a picture of my truck here that I had a bed rack on it that had all like my traction boards and my shovel and my axe and solar panels and things like that. And my CB antennas and my ham radio antenna were folded down. And I think what it is it's something messing with those antennas and the stuff that's attached to my rack. I don't know what it was yet. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot at this point in time, but that's where this kind of gets me back to at the end. But I'm going to play for you some audio now. This is going to be several clips. And full disclosure, I do kind of clip them several times because the wind is just buffeting the microphone. It was actually setting up on top of my roof rack, probably about 30 feet from our tent. My truck was kind of parked here. My audio recorder's on. My tent is over here in this little pull-off. And then there was like some game trails that went over behind our tent. So I'm going to play for you this audio of what was happening there. And this is going to kind of set the stage for what's going to happen here in just a few minutes. What I basically hear is footsteps walk up to my truck. I hear the stuff being messed with. And then right at the end, you hear like some loud footsteps. And then you hear my wife ask me if everything's okay. And I'm like, I'm just going to get out for a minute. And you hear me unzip the tent and step out of the tent. In the audio, you can clearly hear something walking around before I get out of my tent. And listening back to it now, it's going to make a whole lot more sense of what ultimately happens in this location. Listening to it now, it just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies that something, someone, what happens later on, I think is possibly a bear is what I thought there for a little while, but I just don't know now. So I'm going to play this clip for you one more time. It's a couple minutes there, but I'm going to play it for you so now you can kind of focus in on what I heard based off of what we had set up in camp and what was going on. I get out, I don't see anything. I shine my flashlight, I'm looking around, and I mean, this is one of the few times I've been in the woods. Now, it's a little different when you're with your friends. I don't, I relate it to kind of being in the woods by yourself, like when you're solo camping and things like that, and you get into a weird situation. But when you're with your friends and stuff and there's a little more ego involved, it's not quite as kind of crazy. This was just me and my wife in the absolute middle of nowhere on a mountain. I'm out and I'm looking at all this. I don't see anything, but I know that I kept hearing something. So, I mean, I walked out to the road. I'm looking around. Of course, this road is not like super big. It's just a little 2-track through the middle of nowhere. And I'm shining up and down. I don't see nothing. I sit there a few minutes, and then I ultimately go back to my tent. I'm laying there, and it's probably at this point in time, it's probably somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning. We're asleep. You can hear us snoring. And then about a minute and a half out, you start hearing crunching. Don't think nothing about it at first, even when I'm listening to it. But as this goes on, you can clearly hear footsteps coming. And then in the audio clip, you're going to hear my wife. She wakes me up. Now, I said earlier, she's not an outdoorsy person. She's not, but that doesn't mean she's not used to being out in the wilderness like this, you know. We both did scouts for a long time. We were out camping a lot. She's used to noises and things like that. But her words to me were, someone's in camp. So I immediately kind of looked, and her eyes at this point, I mean, she's like, holy crap. And this happens in a split second. But as soon as she says that and I kind of tilt my head up to listen, you can hear in the audio, you can hear crunch, crunch. And if you listen real close, you can actually hear the fabric of the tent go whoosh before you hear my firearm leave its sheath. I'm going to play it for you a couple of times, the impactful part. But you can clearly hear the crunch, crunch, the tent. And what I remember, I'm laying in my cot. She wakes me up. I'm kind of looking because the tent window's right here. And as this happens, the whole side of the tent comes down on top of us. So I immediately, as I'm looking at my wife as this is happening, her eyes are this big. I mean, and I'm not going to lie, that's the most intimidated I've been in a tent probably ever. I pull my firearm. I'm trying to take my flashlight and look out the side of the tent. You hear me holler because my immediate thought was it was a bear. This was in May, the end of May. I had read reports of maybe some bears being in the area. It's the time of year when maybe the males get a little aggressive. So I thought it might be a bear and it's trying to get in our tent. So I'm trying to holler because I'm thinking that I can run this bear off, make some noise. And as I'm looking out this tent, I can't see real good because the mesh of the tent and my flashlight is kind of blinding me in the eye, but all I see is a shadow move away. And you can clearly hear immediately after this happens, you can hear several hard footsteps. And then in full disclosure, it sounds like a small animal that's kind of running off. But I'm here to tell you, whatever pushed in our tent was not a small animal. Ended up starting to rain on us by the time we got out of there, but there's a little bit of smearing on the back side of the tent. I'm not going to say that's definitively what that was, but anyway, it was a really changing experience. We ended up getting up, packing up, leaving camp. Again, my first thoughts at this point in time is it was a bear, and that's what came to the truck the first time was a bear. I'm not so certain now that I listen back to it and you can hear what sounds like to me bipedal footsteps, except for that last little bit there at the end. My theory is that there was a game trail that came up right behind the tent, and as whatever's running off, it's hitting the tree limbs as it's going to. I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point. I hate the conjecture on that, but that was our experience. I'm going to play it for you and tell me what you think.
Hey! Get out of here! Get out!
All right, I'm going to play the last little bit again just so you can kind of hear. But again, what I think happens is something walks up, pushes in on the tent. We start hollering, get up. It kind of runs off into the woods. But I'm going to play that for you one more time.
Hey! Get out of here! Get out!
So for the last story, I'm going to tell you about another little weird experience. And I don't know what I think about this one yet, but I thought I'd share it with you because I show everybody. And I've had I've had some really weird answers to it. I'm not sure if it was just pareidolia or if it was a lens flare or what have you, but I'm going to set a little bit of the stage. Again, this is now years have gone by. We're in the mountains. Again, another really deep spot. This one gets pretty difficult to get to, so there's little chance that somebody's going to walk up on you in the middle of the night without you knowing that they were coming, type thing. So we're camping. We're actually on a 10-day expedition, and everybody had gone to bed except me and my middle son. And kind of to set it up for you, my truck is here. I've now since gone to a camper shell, so I sleep in the truck. We set up my truck kind of as base camp, and then we run around in the Jeeps and things like that throughout the day. So we had my truck here, my Jeep is pulled in here, and then Daniel is camping in his tent, and he's probably 15 yards or so from me, maybe 30 feet or so away from me there. Well, we have radios, everybody has radios, and Daniel and I had been talking on our radios earlier, so we were on our own channel. We have dual band radios. We were on our own channel, and we're talking, and we go to bed. I get the dog situated, and I'm laying in the back of my truck, and then Daniel starts radioing me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing anything." I said, what do you mean? He's like, "Something's moving out there." And I'm like, "Okay, well," I set up. So in the back of my truck, I have around camp, I have basically security cameras that are set up. And while I'm in the back of my truck, I can watch monitors and I can see all around camp, like on the roads and things like that, if somebody's coming in. So I set up. Now keep in mind, they're like 100 feet or more out from camp, down the main trails coming in off the sides of the hills and things like that. So I set up and I'm looking at all the deals, and he's radioing me again. He's like, "Something is making all kind of racket out there." And I'm like, "I don't see anything. There's nothing going on." I also have motion detectors, but they're set up even further. They're probably like 200 yards from camp. Again, mostly on the major trails coming in, so that we, again, know if somebody's going to approach camp. That's the main purpose behind them. So I'm looking and I say, "I don't see nothing." He's like, "Maybe it's the wind," or we'd had some trouble with some coyotes that night. There was this one brazen coyote that kept trying to run into camp when we were eating dinner. So we're thinking maybe that's what it is. No big deal. So we lay back down. While I'm sitting there, now I'm awake because I had just tried to go to sleep and he's woke me up, and now I'm like wide awake. So I'm sitting there and thought, well, I'll get on my phone for a second and read or something. And while I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is actually a pretty cool shot. I'm going to take a picture of this so that I can post it or whatever, keep it. And I take a picture down the length of my truck. Now, keep in mind, my truck has a lift on it. My windows are, if I look in the window standing up, I'm probably looking in the bottom third of the glass. So my windows are open. It was kind of a warmer night, and it gets kind of humid inside the camper shell. And so my window's open, I'm sitting there, and I take this picture. I don't think anything immediately, but I look down and I'm thinking, what in the hell is that? Holy crap. So I start taking more pictures, nothing. So I'm going to show you this picture that I got, and then I'm going to show you an image of it where I kind of played with the colors on it, the saturation and everything, to kind of pull it around so it would bring out what I saw. You don't have to see, I don't have to change it for you to see the original picture, but this is the picture that I took. Tell me what you think, guys. Let me know. I'm looking for some serious feedback. I want to make some, I have tons and tons and tons of footage. We have several investigations and some expeditions that we've planned in the future. We're going to go back out. Matter of fact, my next one that I'm doing, I've been to Caddo Lake numerous times. I have some of the best audio, I think, you'll ever get of maybe a reported Bigfoot encounter. And that's what my next video is going to be on. I'm still trying to get back into this thing. But if you want to hear that, you want to follow along, you want to see where I take this, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, interact some way. I'm also on social media. Just look for Undiscovered Origins, and I'll leave you with that. I want to be able to do this maybe around a campfire or something. Right now we're under a red flag warning in my area because of the dry and the wind, but kind of wanted to tell you guys the story and show you what we were doing while we were there, maybe make it a little more interactive. But let me know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time.